Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into the hidden side of artificial intelligence. Because as AI gets more and more powerful, we have to ask a really important question about the code that's basically starting to run our world.
So is artificial intelligence biased? Is it capable of being, say, sexist or racist? Now, you might think the answer is a pretty straightforward yes or no, but the truth, it's so much more interesting, and it tells us a lot more about us than it does about the machine.
You've probably seen this yourself, right? Ask an AI to whip up an image of a successful CEO, and 9 times out of 10, it spits out a picture of a man. Ask for a kind nurse, and you'll almost certainly get a woman. Now, on the surface, it seems like a tiny glitch, but it's a crack that hints at something much bigger going on underneath.
So which one is it? Is the machine itself sexist? Or is it just holding up a mirror, reflecting the world we taught it to see? To really get the answer and understand the very real stakes, we have to go beyond just making funny pictures.
Okay, so let's move away from the hypothetical. Let's talk about a real-world story. And this isn't about generating images. This is about an algorithm that was given the power to actually alter people's lives. For real.
A few years back, an AI system was built over in the United States, and its job? To help judges predict whether a defendant, if they were released, was likely to go on and commit another crime.
And look, the goal, at least on the surface, seemed pretty noble, right? The whole idea was to take messy, emotional, unpredictable human judgment out of the equation. Just rely on pure, cold data to make a fair and impartial call. What could go wrong?
Well, the result wasn't just unfair. It was a complete catastrophe, and it exposed this fundamental flaw, not in the machine, but in the very data we put all our trust in.
An investigation found something, honestly, just staggering, deeply disturbing. The algorithm was twice as likely to falsely flag black defendants as being high risk compared to white defendants. Twice as likely.
So how could this even happen? How could a machine that's supposed to be all about objective data spit out a result that was so racially skewed? Well, the answer has almost nothing to do with the programmers and everything to do with a hidden process that sits right at the heart of AI.
To really get what went wrong here, we need to pull back the curtain on something called the Bias Amplification Loop. This is the secret mechanism that turns our own messy history into a machine's marching orders.
Okay, first things first, you gotta understand how an AI even learns anything. It's kind of like a baby. It starts as a total blank slate. We teach it by just flooding it with enormous amounts of information. We're talking books, articles, photos, and in this case, a whole bunch of historical records. This stuff becomes its training data. And right there, that's where we find the root of the problem. That judicial AI, it was fed decades of arrest records and crime stats. But this wasn't clean, perfect data. It was data from a justice system with its own well-documented, centuries-long history of social and racial biases.
And this is how that flawed data creates this really dangerous loop. It starts with biased input, our own history. Then the AI studies this data, but it doesn't see a flawed past. It just sees truth. It can't understand context. It only sees patterns. So, naturally, its decisions reflect those same biased patterns. But here's the most dangerous part: amplification. When we see a machine give us a biased answer, our brains can trick us into thinking, see, the impartial machine confirms it, which just reinforces and strengthens the original bias out in the real world.
So, let's just be crystal clear about this. The AI didn't invent racism. It simply held up a mirror to the data we handed it. It learned racism from our history, from our records, from us. This brings us to this really big final idea. If AI really is a mirror, what is it actually showing us when we dare to look into it?
You know, it's more than just a simple mirror. Think of it like one of those magnifying mirrors. It takes our society's smallest, often unconscious biases, the ones we don't even know we have, and just blows them up, displaying them with this ruthless, logical efficiency. It exposes the hidden patterns we might rather just ignore.
And once you start looking, you see this reflection everywhere. When facial recognition systems can't properly identify women of color, why? It's because their training data was just saturated with pictures of white guys.
When AI translators automatically make doctors he and nurses she, it's not inventing sexism, it's just reflecting the stereotypes it learned from the millions of books and articles that we wrote.
You know, there's this great quote from an AI ethics expert that just nails it. They said, "We are not building artificial intelligence. We are building reflections of our own intelligence, complete with all its flaws and prejudices."
So the next time you see some weird or biased result pop out of an AI, maybe the first question shouldn't be, what's wrong with the computer? Perhaps the real question we should be asking is this: what forgotten part of ourselves is this mirror forcing us to see? Maybe the real point of AI isn't just to make machines smarter, but to force us to finally become better humans.